Football is not the same anymore. In this new modern day of social media, Fabrizio Romano and Saudi clubs now buying every single footballer on the planet and offering over 1 billion for a single year for a contract, I think it's come to a stage that football is now splitting apart right in front of our very own eyes. Now, by no means do I think that football is dead. I think what we need to recognise is that there is now very much two different types of fans, and they are getting wider and wider every single year. And for someone that does not support a top 6 team, or really a team that's in the top upper echelon of football, it's almost like you are in a completely different sport. And that is from an English fan and a fan of a Premier League club now in Burnley. And I cannot imagine what it is like in other leagues that doesn't have the finances available, unlike what we are lucky to have in the Premier League. I've seen this topic float around a lot in terms of, is football the same that it used to be? Growing up with the likes of Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Wayne Rooney, comparing these footballers and kind of how we feel about them compared to what we have now, just doesn't feel the same, and I guess that is a lot of nostalgia talking, and I do understand that. However, hear me out here. Throughout football, as far as I'm aware, the term plastic has always been used, and I don't like using that because for me, a fan is still a fan. However, I do think nowadays with social media, it's turned so toxic that people don't even support a football club anymore and instead support individual players, and at times would want their own club to do poorly just to prove themselves right. Now, of course, this is skewed from my own thoughts on social media and Instagram and Twitter especially, so of course this is quite biased, and this isn't of course every single football fan, and I do understand that most football fans aren't even on Twitter. The reason why I'm doing this video is to explain what football means to me and why it is special to me and to so many other people. I'm going to give the perspective of an English football fan, but I'm sure that it could be the same thing if you're all over the world, if you're a local fan from Scandinavia to Germany. In England, we are very fortunate to have the league and the culture that we have, and the fact that we have so many football clubs in a very reasonable short distance compared to the rest of the world. You know, a 5-6 hour trip is pretty much the furthest you're doing if you're doing, like, you know, from northeast to southwest. However, that for most fans of clubs across the world is just a standard journey. It is important to understand that aspect of it when it comes to kind of typical fan culture. I don't like this new modern era that it is all about money, it's all about success or trophies or big signing, and if you don't like one player then it's fine, just buy another player and replace that for 50-60 million, as if there's no sort of consequence in poor decision making anymore at a top level anyway. As a person born in Burnley, raised 5 minutes away from Burnley in a village called Bowerford, I was raised with football. Just like any other English kid, you're raised with football. Football is all around you, football pitches everywhere, and when you start making friendships back in primary school, nursery, growing up, you just walk around and there's parks and local fields everywhere, and the easiest way to make a friend when you're in England is what team support, and you want to go play some footy. That is pretty much it, and that is the culture in England. And growing up, you kind of already associate yourself to a football team because of two different reasons. Because of whoever your family makes you support, because you kind of have no choice, because you already bought 5, 6, 7 kits in your life already, and you've probably already been took to a game. But if you, like me, haven't got like a father which actually cares about football, then you kind of have a bit more free will on that. And for me, I still had 2 brothers. The rest of my family, they don't care about football really at all, other than my 2 brothers. One is a Burnley fan and one is a Manchester United fan. And due to this, because it wasn't my father that was deciding my team, I kind of had free will almost to really just pick my own team, and I really had that. Growing up, I was being bought Burnley kits, I was being bought Manchester United kits, and I was even being bought Liverpool kits because I loved a footballer called Fernando Torres growing up, and my best friend growing up was a Liverpool fan, and I used to always go around to his house after we played football, and in midweek his entire family would go to his house and watch Liverpool Champions League nights, watching like the Dirk Kuyt and David Ngog and Lucas Leiva and all these guys, and I remember watching this thinking that's really cool. And I also liked Liverpool due to this time period as well. My first ever Burnley season ticket was when I was 8. I got it for the 06-07 season when my brother got it for me because he went to games too. Growing up, everyone supported United or everyone supported Liverpool. In my primary school, which was, only 5 minutes away from Burnley, it's in a Burnley area, there wasn't too many Burnley fans. I would say, a good majority was actually more Manchester United fans because, well, they had Cristiano Ronaldo, they had Wayne Rooney, they had Tevez, Nani, who wouldn't want to be part of that. And for that reason alone, I understand why kids growing up in areas that may not have that good of a local football team, I get it completely why they would want to go support a team, that's a United or City or Liverpool or Arsenal or whoever it is, right? So I get why they would want to do that, because sometimes kids in your local primary schools, they just do support these teams if your local club isn't the greatest, if they're like a League 2 team, for example. And I get it, right? I get it. For me, it all came together when I was given the choice of either watching a Manchester United game at home on a TV or to continue going down to turf on Saturday to go watch Burnley games. And Burnley at this stage, we were a mediocre championship team, but for me it was simple. Would you rather go to the game or watch it on TV? And may go to Old Trafford once a year, maybe twice for like a cup game, and that was pretty obvious for me. I'd rather go to every Burnley game because for me it'd be boring to watch at home on the TV. For me that's just not normal. I could have easily been a United fan and just say that my brother supported them, therefore I do too. I couldn't go to games, so for me it was kind of pointless. So throughout my childhood I went to home games until I turned 16 and I earned my own money. I got a job at McDonald's and all of the money that I earned went all on Burnley games, away games, taking coaches across the country. We were in the championship, and this is all documented on my channel. In the 15-16 year, go type up Burnley vlogs, Vizeh 15-16, they are all there. I didn't go to every single away game because I still was at college and I still worked, so I couldn't get every single game off, but I went to a good amount that year, and that for me was the best times of my life. I earned my own money and I went on coaches with my friends, going across the country, watching Burnley, and hey, quite neat, the fact we were doing quite good as well, that also really helped. And it was throughout this time period that I really learned what a football fan is really all about. For 4 or 5 years I spent on coaches, spending all of my money, traveling across the entire country week in, week out, spending 6 hours to go to a home game and then 6 hours back. I lived in Newcastle. I took 6 hours on a megabus and buses to go from Newcastle to Burnley in the cheapest way possible, to go watch Burnley v Bournemouth at home when I was at uni, and I just spent all my time on coaches because I wanted to follow my club, because at that time in my life I was young, I didn't really have many responsibilities. That's all I wanted to do, to be with my mates. That was enough for me. And same thing for all away games as well. Back and forth, following my club. And this is where I learned what being a football fan is really about. For me, I can never imagine being a fan of a club that I'm not from. If I'm not from Manchester, I can't be a Manchester United fan and understand what it means. I can't. It's not the same. If I decided to be a Liverpool fan and we went on to win the Champions League back in the 18-19 season, that wouldn't mean anywhere near as much to Burnley qualifying for Europe, winning the championship, because that's not my people. We all know that football is tribal, and when you go and follow across your entire country, you are representing your people, you're representing your area. That is what it means to me. Me as a Burnley fan, I'm born in Burnley, I'm a Burnley fan, therefore whatever I do online, in public, wherever I go, I not just represent my club, but I represent the people that also supports my club, and that's how I see it. And that's why when we go home and away and we travel in how many numbers we can, we try and do so to give a good example to the rest of the country, saying that, you know what, Burnley, they may be a football club, they may play this way or that way, but hey, at least they have good fans. And that's what I did it for. And then of course I did that for 4 or 5 years and I loved every second of it. And was I healthy? Absolutely not. I was pretty much killing myself at times. I was spending all the money that I have. And when you go from a coach at 3-4 in the morning, going all the way down to Bournemouth or Southampton or anywhere down London, really, you have to go travel back up. You leave at 2-3 in the morning, you come back at midnight if you're lucky, probably 1-2 in the morning, and then I'm hearing people say that, oh, I'll stay up at 2-3 in the morning to watch my football club on a TV and turn it off. It's not the same thing. And I am sorry if you're upset by that. I'm very sorry. But that is the fact of the matter. You watching on TV, no matter how early you stay up in the morning for, is not the same to the match-going fans that does not just the wake up in the morning part, but stays on that and lives it for the entire day, every week, every weekend, for how many, God knows how many years. And of course, what's happened to me? Well, COVID hit, and due to COVID, throughout that entire mess, no one really knew what was going on. People were all over the place, and mental health were a massive problem, and money was a massive problem too for many people. And we decided that it was best to try something new. So we went away, we moved countries, moved to Poland, and of course, for me, the one thing that I missed the most, other than friends and family, of course, is Burnley. I can't go burn the game, and that's been a hard one for me to deal with, because that was my life, that was my personality pretty much for all those years. So I kind of had to find new things to gravitate to become my personality, so that I don't feel that part missing too much, because I can watch it on the TV still. Of course, I can watch it on, you know, the Vizeh play we have over here, but it's, you know, I'm not there. It's not the same thing. I'm celebrating alone. It's just, I miss it. The best feeling in the world is when you are in an away end and you score a goal, but if it's a last minute winner or whatever, it's just the euphoria in that away end, jubilant, off their minds, everyone's hugging each other. The buzz that you get off that is nothing comparable to any drug that I'm ever aware of. I mean, I don't take drugs, but I imagine that it's something very similar to what they take. And that buzz becomes a drug, so to say, and that you are there chasing week in, week out. And then, of course, there's the other things too, the alcohol part of it as well, the alcohol culture of England that I was a part of as well. And that's one slight benefit that I've gained from not going to games, is that fortunately, because I don't go to many games as I used to, it means that I have a lot more opportunity to be a healthier person. I don't drink anywhere near as much. I don't really drink at all, actually. I'm a lot more healthy in that regard, so I'm fortunate for that, because I can't really imagine going to games and not having a drink. For me, that's so strange. Like, I went to Genk last week and I didn't drink at all, actually, for that actual game. It's possible, however, it's a different experience, I would say. What's kind of the point of this video? Well, I've kind of just waffled on about my childhood, my life story. I do apologise, but hey, it is my channel. But my kind of point with this is that for me, football is very much split into many different aspects, and what I want to get across here is that this is my perspective from a local fan. But if you are from America, Scandinavia, Africa, no matter where you are, you can go and support whatever team that you want. And I don't blame you. Of course, you want to be a part of the Premier League, or if you're a Barca fan, a Real Madrid fan, but you know, you want to be a part of a big club that's easy to watch and a great community as well. You may feel like you are missing out if you're not part of it, and you know, it is easier to watch a top 6 team because they are always on TV. So I get why people would want to go be a United fan. However, football is not really a sport all too much, that it is just an investment vehicle that with years on, we're going to see more and more clubs bought out by multi-billionaire states. And if you're not part of that, then it feels like you kind of have no part of that sport. Like the upper echelon of the Champions League and that kind of world is so far apart to the rest of the sport that it is just an unreachable gap, unless if you are bought out by a billionaire like Newcastle, that you kind of just have no say to even enter that conversation. And then we're seeing Saudi football, they're buying every single player possible to try and fill out their league, which for me is interesting to say the least. I mean, I'm not going to watch it. I put out a tweet today, which of course people kick off because it's Twitter, of course, it's what you expect. But for me, it is a glorified pro clubs lobby, like having a bunch of regens sprinkle 3 or 4 decent players on a pitch doesn't make a league interesting, doesn't make a match interesting. Like, there's a novelty in it, and you're going to be finding it a bit interesting, a bit quirky for the first 2-3 game weeks, and then it's kind of like, oh, it's just kind of like a match of just normal, just average players with just 1 or 2 decent to world-class players on the pitch. Okay, are we supposed to be acting like this is normal? Are we supposed to act like this is the future? Because like, that's the future of football. They have unlimited money. People try to compare Saudi football and Chinese Super League. No, this isn't Chinese Super League. This is a completely different beast with an unlimited money pot, with no rules, no regulations, and not part of UEFA or anything, so they can just do whatever they want. They are basically building their own European Super League, not in Europe. Like, this is the European Super League. This is going to become the European Super League. And each year that happens, and each footballer that's nearing at the end of their career gets a nice tasty payday, they're just all going to flock to Saudi. Some people just don't care about football as much as others, and if you aren't like a local football fan, then you see football in probably a completely different way. You want to see the best players, you want to see a lot of money, you want to see trophies and winning, and I guess that's what matters to you, and that's what matters to me. I mean, I want to win stuff, but of course we can't. Burnley can't win the Premier League, neither can pretty much the rest of the league, unless you're City or like 3 other clubs. But hey, there is hope. The fact that Luton Town is in the Premier League gives me hope. It gives me hope that there is still some life in this sport. That clubs that are managed well, recruited fantastically in a great system, managed by a great manager, that just with that alone and not with just money just put into it, can still succeed. That fills me with a lot of confidence, and I hope to see many more stories like Luton Town again, because for me that is one of the greatest ever football stories in English football, that they are able to achieve this in this modern age. One of the worst examples of a footballer being treated just horrifically is Harry Maguire, that he's 0-0, not done really anything wrong for the last year, 2 years, and he's still being abused by fans, not just online but also in public too. He's been booed and mocked and berated over in America in the last couple of days and weeks for the pre-season tour, and I don't know why. He's just become a meme that it's never ending, and it has been never ending for years. He's been booed at England games, and Harry Maguire's done absolutely nothing wrong. But hey, people only care about mental illness in football when it's too late. And I'm not here to say that I'm perfect. I mean, of course, I've done videos before on about footballers like the likes of Dele Alli, and of course I did that, and people tried to like point to me saying, oh well, you're for doing that, but it's like, well, no, if you watch the video, then you would see that the actual topic of the video and the actual like purpose of it was to kind of highlight this is where he came from, going through his entire childhood, going into, well, that we're aware of course, at a stage, and then of course going through how he became so well, what happened at Spurs, and then actually going into, okay, well, now he's having a bit of a rough time period at Besiktas, and what's happening, what could be the reasons. We all hope to see him still do quite well. If you're a fan of a local club like me, then I guess you'll see my perspective on things. If you aren't, then I guess you may see it in a different way completely, and that's fine. I just kind of want to give my thoughts on this really, because I'm looking at all this nonsense and I just think that it's going to get worse, and with all this money, I don't know what the sport would be in 5-10 years, because I mean, I'm still loving it. Burnley's doing great, so like, I'm not doing bad by any means, but I can see fans of clubs that's in the lower leagues just kind of just not care anymore, because they kind of just are wondering what's the point, and that's a shame. That is a real shame. So yeah, tell me your thoughts down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.